Hi everybody, it's Hannah from Winsome Cottage Gardens, and I wanted to bring you along with me a little bit today as I get some things done in the garden. I have some drip irrigation system that I need to fix. I also have some dahlias that I started a long time ago inside in some pots that I need to get in the ground. I don't know exactly where all of them are going. But I do know some of them are going in an area that I do need to fix the drip in, so I figured I would bring you along as I kind of do some odds and ends. I'm hoping I can get it all done tonight. Some of it might end up being tomorrow night. We'll just have to kind of see. It is early evening. Well, I guess it's not that early. It's like 7-ish, but it's lovely. It's been quite warm for like a week or two, but this weekend it really cooled down, and right now it's about 68 degrees. Which is pretty perfect. So why don't we just kind of get started with some of the things that we have to get done today. So here is a look at some of my plant hoard that I have to get in. I haven't really started dahlias from tubers much at all, and this year was one of the first years I decided to try it. I ordered a couple mixes and some specific varieties that I want to try and keep and grow. And these are what took. But I do want to get what I have ready to go in the ground so they can start establishing and whatnot. Let me tell you a little bit more about my drip, because I think that might be of interest to anybody who's trying to make the most and doesn't have an irrigation system like I did when I moved in. So I moved into my house 7 or 8 years ago. And the yard I've really kind of made my own in a number of ways, because one of the first things I did was devise a drip irrigation system. I have 5 different zones between my side bed, along my driveway, in my back I have 3 zones, and in my front yard I have 1. I don't have any kind of fancy irrigation. It's just something I did myself watching some YouTube videos. I'm by no means an expert, but I thought it might be interesting to see what I do have for anybody who might want to do the same. I do not have in-ground sprinkling, so this is all based off of a faucet and a timer that I have splitters that go, and each zone runs I think every 2 days for about 30 minutes. I spot water as needed around that, but in general it's pretty good. So, but today one of the areas I need to fix some of the drip because I've had some plants change. So I thought I'd bring you along, but to do that, I should show you in the back what the lay of the land is. So to orient you, this is my driveway. My house lies directly north to south. So this is the south, this is the north, west, and east is pointing back towards me. So this is a fairly shaded spot. That, as you can see, I have some things that I need to kind of get in the ground that I've tucked under here because I know they do okay. And I just love hostas. But this is also the hub, as you might see in the back, of my main drip system. This is my singular faucet in the back, hose bib, whatever you want to call it, that I have 3 different zones coming up of, and a orbit timer. Orbit seems to work okay for me. I tried some of the fancier ones that were Bluetooth enabled, which I really enjoyed for ease of use. However, I bought 2, neither of them lasted a full season. So I kind of went back to the orbit. The only downside of this is, as you can see, I've got this is a Limelight Hydrangea Standard that is here, and it fills the space beautifully. This is always such a lush area, but it's kind of hard for me I have to get down on my knees and wiggle back there if I want to do something to run it manually or adjust the timer, or I have to basically impale myself on my fence. So neither of which are great options. I try not to adjust it when the hostas are blooming. I know some people don't like hosta blooms, but I think they're kind of pretty and majestic. So from this spot, I have 3 different runner hoses that go under my deck. And then one zone, roughly speaking, does from this point of this frankly sick crabapple, this bed over here, oops, let me get my hand out so it focuses, this front little strip, and the pots right along that part of my deck. Then zone 2 starts here, does this section, as well as my dad built this retaining wall to give me an eyebrow bed to work with, lots more space to plant, but also to help with some of that water. So zone 2 does this little bit, as well as this front bed all the way to there. And zone 2 is actually the one we're going to be working on today. For reference, because it might be of interest, zone 3, which you're not supposed to do this, or it's not advised, so don't do as I say, but I did take the pressure regulator off because I didn't have quite enough pressure to do this. It goes from there in a black tube, runs the perimeter of the yard along the back. It does water a couple things along the back, and then it does that back stretch in my vegetable garden. Watering in the city is probably an expensive thing to do. I don't really have a great suggestion for anybody other than to budget, which is what I do. I found that by doing this drip system, I could get water exactly to where I needed it, and I wasn't wasting a ton in evaporation or just not getting to really where I want it. I do haul out a sprinkler and try to water my grass once a week. Sometimes, if I'm being honest, I don't do it that often, which is why it looks really patchy. I should do a much better job. But it's not just something I hate hauling hoses, so I don't do it much at all. But today, the drip does require just an annual check. Sometimes you have to replace sections if you have hard water, which I kind of do. So I have to make sure the emitters are doing enough and just kind of watch things. See that, make sure it's going off. There's not something wrong with your timer. Make sure that plants look like they're getting enough. And then every once in a while, with what we're doing today, adjust as needed. So let me take you over to the area that we will be adjusting, and then show you a little bit more about where the dahlias are going to go into the ground. So this is the back left corner of my backyard. And I've got just a couple things in here. This is one of the areas that hasn't been fully defined, as I would say, because I kind of like having open spaces as things are still maturing. I've got some coreopsis, I think that's called. This is a tree peony that I saved from the cottage at my parents' house. It kept getting eaten by deer. I think it got eaten down to nubs like 2 or 3 years in a row. So my parents pulled it out, put something else in, and I brought it home to see if I could resuscitate it. And as you can see, it's doing well. It hasn't bloomed yet, but I think next year is its year. The other thing that's back here, I have a little quick fire hydrangea, a variegated dogwood, and this is just something I planted new this year, and one of the main reasons we're changing the drip is a Ninebark. I did have a black Ninebark that was here when I moved in. It's not something I loved, but it was pretty. It must have been a dwarf variety of some kind because it topped out about here and it never got any bigger. Despite having adequate water and being fertilized, it was healthy, but it just didn't fill the space like I wanted to. This Ninebark, and I'll have to look up what the variety is, but it's like a bronzy color in the early spring, is beautiful. And then it kind of goes orange and red in the fall. We'll get about 5.5 to 6 feet tall and wide. It'll fill that space really well in a couple of years. And for now, it gives me some space to play. It's not getting quite enough water, so I'm gonna come in, dig up the tubes, and put a ring around it. I also want to give this guy, the variegated dogwood in the back, a tiny bit more water. He is fine, he's healthy. I happen to have one in the front that I moved both of these when I moved in. The previous owner had a lot of a pretty small bed, and it was obvious they'd wanted instant impact because they bought a number of things in bulk and planted them a little too close together, not taking into account mature size. So I moved both of them. They needed some rehabbing because they were very, very leggy. So I've, done it. I like the breadth of it. It's got a good shape, but it's not putting on the bulk like the one in the front. So I think water is probably why, even though it's healthy, it's not getting quite what I want it to. So I'm going to address that. while we are back here, I do have some cosmos kind of intermingled, but I've got a couple of places here specifically. I'm gonna leave this open probably for zinnias, which are going in soon. This is the back of the raised bed. I've got that vegetable with the arch there. And so I'm going to plant a good chunk of dahlias here, and I need to get water to them as well. Just to kind of show you again where we are. That is the back area, my main vegetable space, these 2 extra beds. I've got a beautiful Annabelle hydrangea just starting. This is something I actually moved from the front a year ago. It needs some rejuvenation pruning that I should probably do sooner rather than later. I've got some status. What are those? They're apricot asters. That's what they are. Apricot asters that I have there. So this is kind of I just need a narrow walkway. And look at all this prime real estate that I can put a couple of dahlias in, which I'm excited. It'll be pretty, and then I won't feel as guilty cutting them because I can't see them perfectly from the house. And it's a fun place to play with annuals as I'm waiting for things to get bigger. Sometimes I've done sunflowers here. I'll probably stick a couple in eventually. But I also have this space over here, which I'll probably do some dahlias, mostly. I'll do some dahlias, but mostly sunflowers. That's what I'm gonna try and get done tonight. I have about 2 hours maybe, 3 hours of light. We'll see when I stop. And what gets done, and I'll show you at the end of the day. It might be tomorrow, but hopefully today, get it done. Let's go grab some stuff out of my shed. Okay, tools I'm going to need is in here. I need my handy dandy toolkit. I want knee pads that travel with me, mulch mover, shovel, gloves, maybe even a matching pair. How lucky. Yeah, I'll come back for the drip supplies, which are back there. I want to get stuff planted because if something has to wait, I'd rather it be that. I'm also gonna need some starter fertilizer, so I'll grab this big bag. Okay, so I moved some of the dahlias I'm planting here. I remembered a couple more places I wanted to stick some in the front of the house, so I might get to that today. I might save that for another day. But I kind of spaced them all out and thought I would share with you what I have done. So in this space, I have 3 different dahlias. These are all from a mix, an old rose mix from, these 2 are from old rose mix from Eden Brothers. That is a romantic mix, so I'm not exactly sure what they are, but this is a space that I don't mind if they're dinner plate, and I don't mind if they're just a smaller variety. So I've got 3 of them kind of here intermixed with the cosmos, and that's a spot I'm holding for zinnias. Then over here I did another 3. I might not plant this guy today just because he is kind of small, but he is a dinner plate dahlia, so I'm not sure. I'm actually kind of thinking about sticking him here, so I might just let him sit there for like a few days to see if I think and not plant him yet. But here I have some more of the old rose. This is the old rose. That is a dinner plate dahlia too. That's a big brother dinner plate dahlia. So yeah, I just might do that, leave this space open, or stick another one there later. I did pop 2 over here. This guy actually dropped accidentally. He's gonna be okay though. He is a cafe au lait, and this is another romantic mix lavender, romantic mix. Oh, I can't speak. And this one is another romantic mix dahlia. So the goal is to get those guys in the ground tonight, and then do drip. I know I'll be able to get them in the ground. The drip is the thing that I might run out of time for, but it's something I can do tomorrow. So wish me luck. Okay, so that didn't take too long. You may have seen me bobble a couple of them. Let me show you how what they ended up looking like. Here are these two. This one I had dropped earlier. You might tell from watching me bobble a different one that I'm a little clumsy. So I dropped earlier, I lost one of them, but I think that'll be okay, hopefully. That's a Cafe au Lait. This is a romantic mixed dahlia. These guys went in okay. I, for better or worse, decided to go ahead and plant that one because I thought, hey, it'll get established in the soil. You may have noticed me completely break the root ball. I'm hopeful that will do something. I noticed, since I was looking at the tuber, one of them is a bit soft, but one is okay, so I'm hopeful that it'll still be okay. And then over here, these three got popped in. I discovered after I finished that one, it is not the variety I thought it was. That is a Labyrinth, which is actually a little bit shorter. So I decided to leave it there because I still think you'll see it, and I'm going to be cutting off of it, so it's not the end of the world. So now that those guys are in the ground, I am going to go tidy up this mess a little bit and then bring some drip supplies out here to start getting some water. I don't need them in all the areas. It rained today, so if it looks very moist, it's not all my drip. It's because it rained. But there are a couple areas that I noted I know I'm going to add some drip to with these dahlias, in addition to the two that I already talked to you about. So let me go grab that stuff and we'll be right back. I thought I would show you that Miss Mia can sometimes be a gardening dog. She heard somebody barking, decided it was worth coming out. Maisie will stay. You've got something on your nose, babe. Can I get it? No, come here. Come here. Please. No, okay. But they're here. What they actually want is me to go inside. They're fine, though they're happy, but they'd prefer it if we went and snuggled. Okay, actually, in fighting my way back here, I discovered I don't actually have as much of my... What I discovered is I don't actually have as much of my half tube emitter brown stuff as I thought. I've got this piece, which you can probably tell used to belong somewhere else. And then I've got this piece, which might be enough for what I want to do. But just to be safe, I'm also going to grab some of my 1/4 inch drip. Got my handy dandy emitters for 1/4 inch, my emitters for 1/2 inch, my brown drip, let's grab some black just in case. And let's take it on back outside. Okay, so I got all the supplies that I may or may not need for this. The next thing I have to do is locate where the exact position of the drip is that I can tie into. So I actually see right over here, I've got a tiny bit peeking out. So I'm gonna get you guys set up, unearth it, and tap into that for this little bit. And I'll kind of explain what I'm doing as I go. Okay, so that was actually a lot easier to find than I thought it would be. You can kind of see it's in the right general area of exactly where I want to go. I also found this, which is how I watered the plant that used to be here, which is not going to cut it for our new guys, especially in this first year. So what I'm going to do is cut this out and insert a T-coupler, and then I'm going to use another T1 to kind of create a loop. Do a ring around this guy and close the loop back up and put it back a little further under the mulch. While I'm down here kind of showing you, you can see that this is going to the other area with the drip that I wanted to address. I don't know if you can see right there. There's actually an emitter. that is going there, which is why I think it's okay. It's just not thriving like I'd like it to. I don't know if I need to do quite what I'm doing for this new Ninebark over there. So what I'm going to do, just to see what happens, is I'm going to add another emitter. That one looks like a 1 gallon, so I might add another 1 gallon. And see if that does the trick, and put it on the other side so that both sides of its root ball are being watered. So I will show you that as I get to it. But first, let's get this bad boy done. Okay. So this guy goes in here. I probably shouldn't have cut it out until I had this piece ready, but I wasn't thinking. I'll do that. This guy. Oh. Okay, I just made a mistake that I want to show you. So I didn't realize this was the end that I had. And I didn't look closely to realize there's an emitter right there. Which, if you look inside, means I'm never going to get that coupling piece in there. So I'm actually going to, unfortunately, cut this out. I don't really need water here, so it's not the end of the world. But I just kind of always hate it when I might make a goof like that. So it's a little shorter, but that's okay. This will help it when the plant is bigger. So let's see if I can get it in just a little. You got to kind of work it a little bit more. You should probably get it past this second little guy. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. That's gonna be good enough. He's not going anywhere. Okay, so you can see that I just kind of nestled this in. I went and grabbed some landscape staples that I'm just going to use to pin this down. Sometimes when water runs through, it moves around a little bit. I'm just going to do it on the other end. And these I'm going to use the next one. And now I get to cover this back up. I don't know if it's going to stay quite covered because it's a little shallow in a couple areas, but I'll try because it helps keep water evaporation down too. So now I'm going to tackle this guy. I did decide I'm just going to run a simple drip to the other side. It's going to be a bit of a tight fit. As you can see, there's a fence and there's a fence. So it's right in the back corner. I'm going to pop it in right here and then we'll see how it goes. So let me go get my handy dandy popper and all the other bits I need. Okay, so I'm back in here. I hope you can see everything. This is kind of as good as it's gonna get. I just found, this is Virginia creeper. I know in some parts of the US, people plant it for beauty. Here it is a noxious weed that kills whole trees. Because it just takes over. It does turn a beautiful color in the fall. It is admittedly beautiful in the fall. However, since it's a pain in the butt to get out, I pull it out whenever I see it make its way into my yard. So I'm kind of wedged in here. The first thing I'm going to do is actually pin this down to make sure the water isn't getting too lost. Then I'm also gonna see if I can feel where an emitter hole is. There's one right here. So I have this neat little tool that can help cut this and create holes. So, which is a lifesaver. You just kind of line it up, pop it in. Oh, and this tube is a little older, so it's not making the noise it usually does, but it helps with an indentation. Then I'm going to pre-pop this guy into my black tube. This is all 1/4 inch, by the way. And I'm gonna force its way into the hole until it breaks. It's not really breaking the way I want it. Okay, there we go. It's in now. This is how I always measure. I want it to go to that side, so this should be good. Now, I know some people would put this emitter inside right here. I found every once in a while, especially with my hard water, that if this gets full, there's no way the water's gonna go through the tube right to where I want it. So I use 2 pieces. This is just a 1/4 inch straight through that I, pop in. And then I put the emitter right on the end because, oh, this little bugger. That way I know that it's got the best chance at getting water to the spot I want. My water's not too hard, but it's hard enough that I have had some problems. So I'm just gonna do it this way. I'm gonna bring it in. Oh, I'm getting caught in it. Do it to the other side. Stake it in right there at the base and cover this guy back up. So, I can get a close up right now. I'm actually like wedged in here. I've got this little Cosmo that I'm trying to not squash. But I now have a 2 gallon per hour. And this guy, I'm not sure if he's working now that I'm looking at him closely. I'm gonna leave him because if he's not working, it's not the end of the world, but he is just a 1 gallon. But I did him the way I just told you not to do it. So, we will see if this guy gets lush, because I'm gonna go actually show you what the one in the front looks like, because he's beautiful. And I'd really like this one to look the same. Okay, so this is actually a lot later in the day. But here is the same bush in the front of my yard. It's beautiful. And I want my other one to look like this. They don't quite yet. So this is the goal, because this gets a lot more water. Well, it is actually a lot later in the day. I went in the front to capture some video of this variegated dogwood to show you the difference and see what I'm hoping this will turn into. And I got talking to my neighbor. So I have a couple things I need to pick up, but I wanted to just say thanks for kind of coming around with some of the jobs I had to do today, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.